Welcome to Mildura Weekly, and today it's A Cuppa with Ali, first in a series of segments we're going to be doing with the member for Mildura, A Cuppa, and she joins me in the studio today. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
This week you were talking in Parliament about an $8 million funding injection from the state government for the Mildura South Sporting Precinct. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we've got our Mildura South Sporting Precinct, which is one of the pieces of job-creating infrastructure as part of the Mildura Future Ready vision, I guess. Now we've had a whole lot of money from the federal government come through, which is very exciting and really promising. But we need the state to come to the party. So council's chipping in $8 million of its own money. I've been a councillor, so I know that that's a big amount of money for a rural regional council. But now we need the state government to step up. So the state government has contributed $3 million so far, but we know that in the last term for an equivalent package in Morwell, the state government paid the entire $85 million for that. So the pressure's on me to put the pressure on the government, and I'm doing that in all of the ways I can. I'm on the back foot in the sense that usually the first budget in a state election cycle is about paying for election promises. The $8 million for Mildura South wasn't an election promise by the Andrews government, so that puts me on the back foot, but I'm going to fight as hard as I can.
Excellent. Of course, you've had the Premier's ear in regard to Mildura Base Hospital and the ownership there with Ramsay Health. The survey which was conducted has just been released, and 90% of respondents said they want to see that back in public ownership. Do you think that's a fair representation of the community's view overall?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, it's one piece of evidence. It's not the only piece of evidence. Going back to 2012, I think a key piece of evidence was a panel of highly esteemed local doctors who had been in the region for a long time, who had experienced both models, saying that we have a problem here. This model where you have a profit incentive, this need to make a profit to fulfil your obligation to one master, being shareholders, it makes it very difficult to fulfil that obligation to your other master, which is the community. You can't serve two masters and do both well. So I think that's the evidence I always think is probably the most important. But then there's just the testimony of members of the community. People aren't stupid. People pick up when there's a trend there, when something's amiss, and that's been the consensus for a very long time.
Now, how do you respond to the criticism from the base hospital management that you haven't really had a face-to-face meeting with them or been in to see firsthand how the hospital's operating today? Yeah,
well, look, I mean, I'm a member of the community, so I've been to the hospital lots of times. When my grandparents have been sick, when my mum's been sick, when I've had to take my little boy to the A&E, So the idea that I'm very detached from the hospital and I haven't sort of seen how it works, that would be my response to that I have. I acknowledge that I haven't taken up the opportunity to be toured around by Ramsay management, and then that's up to the community to judge that. I didn't see any particular value in that. I thought it's been more valuable just my own personal experiences at the hospital. But the other thing that's probably important to note is that I did meet with Julia Morgan and two senior managers in my office on the 12th of March, and we had what I thought was a productive, respectful, honest conversation about our respective positions, and I made it clear. I said, look, if the government chooses to renew this contract, I want to talk to you about ways we can improve some stuff within the private model, but unless and until that happens, my position is that it needs to be returned to public management.
If it were returned to public management, what evidence is there that would improve things, services at the hospital? So
the evidence is everywhere. It's all around the state. It's in that fundamental fact that we are the only privatised public hospital in the state. Whatever the case was in the 90s, the evidence now is that public hospitals, publicly managed hospitals, partly as a result of case mix funding reforms, run, I think, on average a 2% surplus. So there isn't a valid argument to say that you get a better financial performance under a private model, and also just the evidence that I picked up too by touring. Recently I went to Albury-Wodonga Hospital. You know, these are high-performing, publicly managed hospitals with boards that are passionate, who are very connected to the community, who are highly accountable, and you know, the communities have a sense of trust. So I think the evidence is everywhere that it would be improved.
And look, just finally, you've been in Parliament now for coming up to 6 months,
Yeah.
certainly since the election.
Yeah.
How are you finding things?
Good. It's an experience. You know, I've sort of said to my friends, it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland meets Game of Thrones. You know, being here on my, you know, in my community, doing the advocacy as I've done for a long time, that feels a lot more natural than being on Spring Street. It's a whole new world. And that's a process, but each sitting week I'm feeling more comfortable and more confident, and I'm building those relationships that I need to build, and I think you know, my plan is to be able to achieve some really great things in the next 4 years.
Fantastic. Well, look, thanks for coming in today, and we're going to see you on a regular basis.
Yeah, good.
Keep
A
up the good work.
cuppa with Ali. I love it. That's good.
See you soon.
Thanks, John.
Join us for more videos at milduraweekly.com.au.